Hey guys, happy Monday, May 6th, 2019. Can't believe it, first Monday in May. I had to think about that for a second. Super excited to have Kendall and Caleb Carpenter on the show. Ooh, that is lots of cuss sounds. Super excited. This is their first, come on, this is kind of like their first thing into Facebook Live, but look how good they look. So give us a thumbs up. Let us know you can hear us and see us. Look, we already got a thumbs up, which I love. I didn't have to ask for it. They drove all the way from sort of Osceola border there, St. Cloud, Lake Nona, to come to the downtown insanity. What's up, Dr. Rosado? Welcome to the show, guys. Happy to have you. I love the title of the show. I love everything about you guys. We met at a Property Pros event. What did we meet? So that was fun. Yeah, we had a great time. Wendy Stewart, Anthony Billeteri, they're all great people, everybody on that team. All right, so you're here in the heart of crazy downtown. Welcome. All right, so tell us a little bit about you. We'll start with Kendall always, ladies first. Tell us a little bit about you.
All right, so I am a native Floridian, born and
You
raised
are
here.
in Orlando, or?
One of the few. I was born at ORMC, yes.
No way. That's what we used to call, what is that, Orlando Health now at Florida Hospital?
I don't even
ORMC, guys. Google that.
I'm an original.
You're an original.
So I am the daughter of a general contractor and pretty much only child. I have a half sister and a half brother, but so I grew up as an only child in the household, and so my dad didn't have a son, and I learned all the rough and tough stuff from him, how to build things, how to make things. My dad was never one of the kind that paid anybody to do anything. He figured it out.
God
So
bless
that's
him.
kind of where I get my personality from. I clean up well. This is not what I look like every day.
Honest to God, you look great. If you go, and we'll tag all of that, if you go to her Facebook page or website, there's some great pictures of you in the field, which we'll talk about later on.
Yeah, so just kind
You
of
love the industry. You're here. And we'll talk about your industry a little bit.
Yes, so I grew up, I rode in the rodeo.
You rode in the rodeo?
I did. I
Like the
barrel
one, the
raced.
big famous one out in Osceola?
That one I actually never rode in, but there's a couple other ones in Osceola County that I did. So I started riding when I was 5 and rode up until cars were more appealing than a horse.
You are rough and tumble. I like it.
And then from there, I went to college. I got my bachelor's degree.
What'd you get? All right, so how was that experience? Did you go local or did you go?
I went to UCF.
Me
I'm a
too.
UCF
Go Knights.
graduate. Yes,
Yeah,
go
go
Knights.
Knights.
Charge on. I have my bachelor's in finance.
Me too. I've never used it. Not even once.
You got to get it in something, right?
You got to get it in something.
So I have that, but yeah, other than that.
So you got the business degree, and then you went back to, well, we'll talk a little bit because I want to learn about Caleb.
Yes.
But you inspections people, like she's rough and tumble. All right, Caleb, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll bring your stories together in a minute.
All right. Yeah. My name's Caleb, and I actually am a realtor, actually with the Property Pros. You got to give them a little shout out.
Shout out, Anthony.
And Anthony Billeteri and a good group of people there. That's what I do. But I'm actually a small town boy. I was raised in Avon Park, Florida. Not sure if anybody's.
I know exactly where it is.
One red light town, but moved to Orlando about 10 years ago, and haven't looked back since. Just enjoy being up here and enjoy the people.
What brought you here?
And basically, opportunity. More opportunity in the Orlando area. A lot of vast culture of people, different opportunities that you wouldn't have in a small town. I definitely have found here.
Wendy says hi.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
What did you want to do when you grew up? Hey, Nick. What did you want to do when you grew up? Obviously, I always joke with people, you weren't born and then at 4 years old you said, I'm going to be a realtor.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Baseball, yeah.
No.
Yeah, baseball was my thing. I mean, I played ball my whole life. Obviously, like we all do growing up, playing ball. Wanted to, be a, major league player, but, that didn't pan out. So when that didn't pan out, I had to hit the streets. And
Why sales? Why get into
sales was always something that I just naturally was, I loved talking to people. I loved, going out and about and just knocking shoulders with, different kinds of people and just, the sales, experience you get with, making friends and, just being good to people, I think, and then also you have to be, always be closing.
Always be closed, ABC.
ABC, but just in people and enjoying life and on top of that making decent money while doing it is something.
It's important, right? All right. So how did you two meet? I've got to know the story.
Oh boy.
How did you two meet? An Orlando girl.
So I was working for a new home builder, and on my lunch hour, my mom also worked for the same builder. We went looking for floors for my house, and Caleb happened to be my floor salesman.
So that's where the sales started.
Nice.
So that's where his sales experience started.
And how does that work? So you have that first meeting. I haven't been in the dating world, and I hope never to be. See, everybody's saying you're an amazing inspector. I want to at least give that out. Amazing friends, amazing realtor. So how does that work when you see him, and then what happens? Did Caleb think the same thing, or was he like, okay, she's pretty, but...
I was all professional in the beginning, and then I came in on a day off, and his manager kind of let me know he had a thing for me, and so
Nice.
I was younger and sassier, and so I said...
You're sassier then?
I told him to let him know I was single, and so it just kind of all fell into place from there, and from our first date, we were inseparable,
Yeah.
and...
So ended up moving into the house and living on the floors that I sold.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
I picked those floors out. They were going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, sold them 12 millimeter Armstrong Grand Illusions.
And this year we're celebrating 10 years of marriage and
That's
two beautiful
amazing.
boys.
You do. You have two beautiful boys. What is marriage like? Since you're both in the same industry, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But you're both in the same
busy.
industry.
It's, our kids will
And
tell
active
you.
boys.
Yeah, always running around to baseball games and stuff like that. Our boys will tell you that we're constantly on the phone and we're constantly working and all that stuff. But we have our moments where we unplug and they're our life and everything else.
How does that work when you have both of you in a field where there's flexibility, which is lovely? That's the best thing about what we do is there's flexibility, so you can go to practices, you can go to games, but you also are constantly, we're all on call 24/7. Nobody believes me unless you're in the industry. How does that work when you're both working on a deal, you're both so busy? How do you balance?
Thankfully, we have really supportive grandparents on both sides that are there for us all the time. So they help us out if we can't get them to practice. Watching him if we have to go, if he has to go do a showing or have to go do an inspection or something like that. So that support system is huge.
So I imagine you show up to every inspection looking exactly like this.
No.
So let's
You'd
talk.
probably be like, that's not her.
We'll start with inspections first, and then real estate. Let's talk about the inspection world because inspect once, what is the show title? Inspect once, inspect it right, which I love because that's such a big deal. But this isn't any business, so hear what she's saying. You like what you're doing. Like I can tell when we talked about it the very first time when I met you guys at that event. You could tell that you actually have a passion for this. You enjoy it.
Yes.
All right, so talk about how that is when a woman business owner, especially in an industry where it's mostly men, especially primarily on the ownership side and on the actual inspector side, comes out to an inspection. Do you get a hey pretty girl, hey little lady? I mean, I have this vision of you, nobody taking you seriously initially.
It has happened a couple times. I'm not gonna lie, I've had a couple people that have decided to pass just because I am a female.
Why? That is so bizarre.
And they don't think I know what I'm talking about. But then I have a lot of clients that really appreciate the fact that it's a female's perspective. Because women, just in general, tend to be more detail oriented, and so they like that idea of someone coming in and really being focused on the particulars of the inspection. and I still get down and dirty and I sweat, and that's why I don't wear makeup to work, because it ends up on my sleeve.
How could you wear makeup in a crawl space or all these things where you have to go under the house and you have to figure that out?
And I do. So I go under houses and crawl spaces. I get dirty. I'm in attics and crawling through insulation and on roofs and all that good stuff. So don't let the pretty face fool you.
So what? But I love the fact that you know it. I think that people, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, people.
No.
What are some of the things because we have a lot of people who follow the show because they are investors or realtors. What are some of the things in our world, in the inspection world, that you can tell us that we're either doing wrong when we're setting up for an inspection, or things that are not as big deal? I can't tell you on the mortgage side how many times people are like, oh my God, one of the blades on the fan is broken. It's not the end of the world, but that's what it feels like to the person who's buying the house.
Yeah, for sure. So really, air conditioners are a big deal. And a lot of people automatically assume that if there's an issue with the air conditioner, that it's the end of the deal. You know, it's going to be really expensive to fix. It's going to be a problem. And a lot of times, just because there's moisture present or something like that, it can be a super easy fix. So some of the older homes don't have condensation flow switches, which save your air conditioner from flooding your return.
I'm going to make a mental note of that. A condensation flow switch.
Yeah, and even if yours has it, it can cause your air conditioner to stop working, but it's a safety mechanism. So a lot of people freak out and think that, you know, my unit's not working, but that's a safety mechanism. So there's different tips and tricks. You know, always make sure you have clean air conditioner filters. Always make sure that your condensate line is, you know, clear. Replace broken outlet covers and switches. Those are all super easy not major fixes that you can do before you list a home. That's one less headache thing.
So Caleb, as a realtor, when you hear Kendall talk about that, is that the realtor's responsibility to let the borrower know, the seller know? How does that work in your world? And then talk about how it is to work with somebody who's obviously very detail oriented.
Yes.
Us real estate people normally tend to work up here, and then if you got somebody who's really in the nitty gritty 24/7, that must be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, it's neat to get the perspective from the realtor standpoint, you know, and being, you know, as we own the company together, you know, I've been able to help her, you know, kind of understand the realtor perspective on inspections, because, you know, a realtor, you know, is going to, you know, think one way, and an inspector is going to think another.
True. Very true.
You know, and at the end of the day, you know, we all, as realtors, we want to make the deal happen. I mean, that's what it's all about. But at the same time, you don't, you know, there's a happy medium. You don't want clients coming back to you and saying, oh, you know, you made me buy this house, and, you know,
right.
It always falls back on the realtor as the bad guy if a home inspection wasn't done well. You can't make everyone happy. Sometimes people are gonna nitpick on, you know, things and little things that just, you know, that it's just part of being a homeowner. And unfortunately, you know, you're gonna have that, and, you know, and so I try to teach her, or not teach her, but talk to her, you know, about that, and just how to talk with the realtor and the client, and kind of make both sides of the coin happy. But at the end of the day, the job is to make sure that the homeowner's not buying something that they shouldn't.
So let me ask you, both of you, when you have an inspection, you look at it. I mean, I've never seen a perfect inspection where it's one page and it's blank and the inspector has signed off. So you've got these things that come up. How do you address that with your seller, and how do you address it with your buyer? Because the buyer obviously is already nervous. It's a big deal. They immediately see that there's, I don't know, I'm going to guess a page or two, maybe it's longer. I know the report can be longer. But like of things that, and they look at it and they immediately fixate on something else. So on one specific thing. And then the seller's like, well, I have no desire to fix any of this stuff. You sell it as is, even though it might not be an as is contract. How do you handle it from both sides, Caleb? Like, if you're representing the seller, what are you educating them on?
Yeah, basically educating the seller that, listen, you know, at the end of the day, you know, as a seller, you want to sell the home. You've hired an agent to sell the home. You know, if we haven't nipped it in the bud, you know, to begin with, we're going to find out during the inspection period. And once the inspection period, it comes, and we have to, we have to get to both sides of the coin for the buyer and the seller. We have to figure out, obviously, what's gonna work. Are the sellers willing to fix this? Well, it's on an as-is contract most of the time, so they don't have to. They're not obligated to, per the contract. But any typical good buyer's agent is going to say, hey, we're going to see what we can get away with. Now, if it's major issues, then I'm going to talk with the client and say, hey, unfortunately, personally, I can only give you my opinion, but based on this report, it needs a new roof. I mean, if we can negotiate that roof and you still want it, let's move forward. If you don't, then right now, that's why we paid that money to have that inspection. Let's move on and get something
for you.
Right. And and that's the main thing is wouldn't you rather spend $400 or $500 to guarantee that you're not buying something with termites, you're not buying something that just is going to be a Band-Aid flip house, that you get into, and next thing you know, it's just 1,000 things are going wrong. That's the last thing you want as an inspector or a realtor to be on your conscience once your buyer.
Wouldn't you want to? I mean, first of all, as a seller's agent, or as a seller's agent, if something comes up that's major, doesn't it have to be disclosed to every other? Let's say once they know, right? So when we bought our house 150 years ago, I remember that there was something on the inspection that came up, and the seller, who's an attorney, didn't want to fix it. And my realtor said, listen, that's a major thing. You should definitely push. And I go, well, then let's push. And then I got educated right at that moment. He said, well, once I push, remember, it's an inspection. So I'm going to use well, listen, if you don't fix it now, you're going to have to fix it later because you have to disclose this. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that you have to just make sure that you're with a professional, a real estate professional, a realtor like Caleb, because you want to have somebody who's going to do that and go to bat for you. Mm-hmm. Now, do you also want somebody who's going to nickel and dime the seller and they want to fix the blade on the fan in the bathroom and the la? I mean, if it's cosmetic people, if it's green walls and you hate the green walls, that's not an inspection issue. And I think people get really caught up in that.
We do have that a lot, the nitpicky little things that, it takes $2 at Home Depot to fix. Don't stress the small stuff. Especially
in this day and age. So what are some of the big things you've seen? Have you ever had to deal with, Kendall, have you ever had to deal with, I don't know, there's a dead body buried in the backyard. I'm just throwing insanity at you, and then you can work your way backwards to sanity.
So no dead bodies. So probably leaking plumbing.
That's a big issue.
Yeah.
Is it across the world? I mean, I feel like we hear it a lot in this state.
It's not as bad in some of the newer homes because CPVC is the most prevalently used in the new construction, and it's really well done. But when you get into copper and poly, those are where you can have your problems more often than with the CPVC. And a lot of like in St. Cloud, the 100-year-old houses some of them have cast iron waste pipes under the house, and
wow,
yeah, super old plumbing.
One crazy thing she told me one time is she went and the actual seller had taken a picture and made a color copy of a plug outlet, and they stuck them inside of the bubble caps on the exterior of the home.
Oh, to look like GFIs.
So they basically took a picture thinking that nobody would test them.
It was just a printed picture.
What's wrong with people?
So,
I mean, that's awesome.
The other probably most crazy thing is in getting in an attic. I don't know if people think that you won't crawl the attic. You'll just get in at the entrance, take a look, take some pictures, and leave. But I had one home that had fire damage that somebody had gone up in the attic and spray painted white to try to hide it. And if anything, it made it even more noticeable.
So what is the point? Like, why would you spray paint it white? Was it going to, because they just didn't want to disclose it, they were trying to get rid of the house?
I don't know at what point it was sprayed white. It could have been previous owners.
At what point are you there in your brain? Why?
Yeah.
I had my home that we built out in Eastwood recently sold again. My buyer just sold it after 14 years. And they found stuff, because the buyer's agent was a friend of mine. Oh, Eileen was part of this transaction. And so I asked them to look in the attic, and they found part of my daughter's Barbie dream house still up in the attic. So this was the early 2000s, people. But I love the fact that they were looking out and could go forth. I mean, you want somebody who's a proponent both on the real estate professional side and on the inspection side, because this is a giant thing for you. And then once you go in, once you sign, once you're done, don't come after anybody else for anything. You could try. I mean, your home warranty, I guess. That's a whole nother show. But I think it's important for you to hire somebody who understands and who get in the crawl space, who get into the attic, who make sure that they work with an inspector, because there's so many homes. Florida is an interesting little place. You've got all this rust you've got to deal with, and the moisture, that's the word I'm looking for. The moisture is insane here. So do you guys ever disagree on an inspection?
I don't know that we disagree as much as, I take a lot of time in my inspections, and I take pride in putting complete sentences together and really explaining.
You mean that's real in this day and
outlet
age?
and bedroom is broken is not part of my vocabulary. But I try to point exactly where it's at, so that you're not on a wild goose chase when you are trying to figure it out. And I try to explain how big of a deal or how not big of a deal it is, so that people can understand, because you're working with people who this is their fourth, fifth house.
Right.
And you've got people that this is their first house and they're freaking out, because they don't know that that's not a big deal.
I love that you're explaining that, because I think that's one of the things about inspections, or any kind of, like even insurance inspections, anything that you're dealing with. There's this, it's just so cut and dry, and then you don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And I would love to know what you're thinking as the person who's involved in the transaction on one side or the other. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and we will also, when we do our reports, we actually complete ours on site. That way we can be specific as to where any deficiencies were found. But then if the buyer happens to be on site, we then have the opportunity to go through the report, walk through the house, and physically show them where these things are, or how to maintain certain parts of the house and things like that.
That's really cool that you guys work together on this. When I met you at Anthony's thing, I just thought that is such an interesting mix and marriage. How do you guys separate it out and go, all right, we're going to just do family time now?
We really, Sundays is probably,
Sunday's your day?
That's our day, yeah. We go to church, and we have like a no technology rule in our house on Sundays.
Nice.
So, that's where,
do
kids
both
don't.
of you adhere to that?
Well, it's only for the kids.
There's
But
the
we
truth.
try.
You know how many people would have messaged me later? What? They put their phones down?
Yeah,
no,
no,
they
try.
don't.
we tried. But
It's for the kids, but
Yeah.
the goal is, you're working toward it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
important. And you're an example for the kids. But what a lot of kids, my kids to this day, are like, I can't believe you're on your phone. Okay, you know how you went to college, had a great
That's how we
wedding?
paid for that.
Yeah, I have to be on my phone. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Our kids say that constantly. They know our messages. Hey, you've reached Caleb with the Property Pros. He's always saying that. Or you've reached Wayne's Home Inspections. Because they hear that constantly. But it's part of the business.
How do you guys think the market is?
It's pretty good right now. I mean, we had our slow period, but that's pretty normal around the holidays. People
Right.
are busy. They don't want to move. They're not looking for houses mostly at the holidays. But it seems like when tax time comes around and people are getting their returns, the market picks up. It's getting closer to summer. They want to start
Kids
moving
are out
in the
of
summer when
school.
their kids are out of gas.
Correct. I mean, that's the time to move. Then you
Yeah.
have time to research. You have time to actually do the move. They can get adjusted before school starts. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
May
in the
to
summer.
probably about September is our
That's your crazy.
slammed
Oh my God!
crazy
And that's the hottest part of Florida.
Yeah.
Ouch!
Yeah.
I feel really bad for you.
Yeah.
Oh, Francis said I used them for my inspection. You have a lot of people that actually set
Thanks,
that up
Francis.
and down there, and they'll go through that later. We'll all go through that and address that. All right, so we're going to share all of Caleb and Kendall's contact information, how you can reach out to them, how you can learn more about real estate from Caleb, and how you can learn more about inspections from Kendall. I think these are important topics. Trust me, I didn't know my person. at the time when I had my inspection, and I wish I would have because I have a lot of questions for them right now, 14 years later. All right, any parting words of wisdom for them? Anything you guys want to share before we head out? Neither one of you can start.
Oh gosh. Just, don't always go for what's cheapest when it comes to getting a home inspection, because like anything else, you get what you pay for. So we definitely aren't the most expensive out there, but we're definitely not a handyman special. So, we can do it all from the home inspection, the wind mitigation, the 4-point, and we also do WDO, which is wood destroying organisms, and we do that all in-house. None of that is
That's your
subcontracted out.
termite-like things, people.
Yes, yes.
We don't outsource our termite. We do it. We hold the license for that in-house. So.
Nice. You're kind of. And how about you, Caleb? Anything?
Yeah, just say, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everything everybody does for us. Thanks, Ted, for having us on.
Thank you so much.
And
It's been
God
fun.
bless. And that's it.
You guys are great. I love when I have a married couple on. Especially, if they're in the same industry, I get it, right? I've had 2 realtors on that are married. But when you guys are sort of in a different thing, it's so cool to watch the dynamic between husband and wife, between partners, because there's always this really cool thing. You're both business owners, you're both entrepreneurs, you both do your own thing, and you come together, you've got a family, and you still make it work, and you're not always dressed to the nines like you are right now, right?
No,
So,
this is
and look
a
at
rarity
his,
for
did
me.
you see his shirt? His shirt's beautiful, right?
Thank
So
you.
I love that. I love the fact that you guys will interact and bring that out, because I think people want down-to-earth people, and they also want people who are a little bit more grounded, no inspection funniness there, but you want to have that, and I love that you guys are like that. I knew it the first time we sat at the table. If you can hang out with me at a party, I don't know, I love you from the very moment we said go. Anyway, thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Kendall, Carpenter,
Yes.
Caleb, Carpenter. What's the name of your inspection company?
Wayne's Home Inspections. Wayne's is because Wayne founded the company, and he is now retired, so we have taken that over.
Nice.
And you can find us on Facebook at Wayne's Home Inspections, and then we are also on the internet at wayne'shomeinspections.com, and our email is wayne'shomeinspections@gmail.com.
Nice.
You can also reach us at 407-908-1701.
Perfect. And then Caleb is at the Property Pros. So we are big supporters, love the Property Pros. Reach out to these guys. They're down to earth. You can't fake it on Facebook Live. That's why I love having people on here. Very down to earth and honest. So reach out to them. Thank you guys for being on the show. Appreciate you both.
Thank you.
We'll be back. I don't know when. I'm filming my first American Dream TV episode tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm going to be live on that or not, but you guys will get some behind the scenes stuff. Super excited. Big week this week. Reach out to them. Why would you not want to? All right? Love you guys.
Thank you.
Mwah. We'll see you soon.
Bye.